Hello students, hope you are all fine, and today I am going to start with the second chapter of the unit genetics, and the name of the chapter is the molecular basis of inheritance, and the topic that I am going to discuss today in this chapter is the DNA. The full form of DNA is the deoxyribose nucleic acids. Dear students, deoxyribose nucleic acid and ribonucleic acid, that is RNA, are the two types of the nucleic acids found in the living systems. DNA acts as a genetic material in most of the organisms, whereas the RNA, though it also acts as a genetic material in some viruses, mostly it functions as a messenger RNA, structural, and in some cases it has a catalytic role to play. But for today, let us discuss the DNA first. DNA is the hereditary material in most of the organism. DNA is a long polymer of deoxyribose nucleotides. The length of DNA is usually defined as the number of nucleotides or a pair of nucleotides referred to as the base pairs present in it. This is the characteristic of the organism. The DNA, it consists of three parts: the deoxyribose sugar, a phosphate, and the nitrogenous base, which are of four types, and they carry the genetic information of an organism. Now, dear students, as I have told you that DNA is a polymer of the nucleotides. Now, what is nucleotide? As you can see in this figure, nucleotide, it consists of three parts: a phosphate group, a sugar, and a nitrogenous base. They are the units of the nucleic acids and are composed of these three components. These are the building blocks of the nucleotides, both DNA as well as RNA, and they are involved in energy storage, in muscle contraction, active transport, maintenance of ion gradients, and the most important function is the carrying of the hereditary information from one generation to another generation. However, in the subsequent lectures, we shall be discussing how the various functions are maintained by this polymer of the nucleotides, that is DNA. Now I have to tell you that the number of the base pairs in a DNA. Now first let me explain you what is base pair. As I just discussed with you that the DNA is a double stranded molecule, and on both the strands there are present the nitrogenous bases. Two complementary nitrogenous bases connected to the phosphate group and the sugar, deoxyribose sugar, they constitute a pair of the nucleotides, and the one nucleotide on one strand, other correspondingly on the other strand, constitutes one base pair. And the number of base pairs in an organism is fixed and is characteristic of an organism or a species. For example, here you can see the bacteriophage 5 into 174 has about 5.3 kilo base pairs. Kilo stands for 1000, and if we talk the exact number, it is 5386 nucleotides in 5 into 174. Similarly, bacteriophage lambda has 48 kb base pairs, and the exact number is 48,502 base pairs. Escherichia coli has 4.6 into 10 raised to power 6 base pairs. And if we talk about the DNA content of the human being, then let me tell you that the haploid content of the human DNA is about 3.3 into 10 raised to power 9 base pairs. This is haploid content, and doubling it will become the diploid content. Now, after this, let me talk about the structure of the polypeptide chain. You have already studied in class 11th in the chapter biomolecules the structures and the functions of the various monomers and the polymers of various biomolecules, and you have also studied about the polynucleotide chain of the DNA or the RNA. Let's recapitulate it. That a nucleotide has three components: a nitrogenous base, as you can see in this figure, a pentose sugar, which would be ribose in case of RNA, and deoxyribose in case of DNA, and a phosphate group. There are two types of nitrogenous bases, purines and the pyrimidines. The purines are further of the two types, adenine, guanine, and pyrimidines are the cytosine, uracil, and thiamine. It would become more clear from this figure that, and I must explain to you that cytosine, that I just now I told you that pyrimidines are of three types: cytosine, uracil, and thymine. Cytosine is common for both DNA and RNA. Thymine is present in DNA. Uracil is present in RNA at the place of thiamine, which was present in DNA. A nitrogenous base, as you can see in the figure, is linked to the pentose sugar through nitro and glycosidic linkage to form a nucleoside. That is, when a nitrogenous base is linked to the sugar, it forms a nucleoside. And when this nucleosides, one nucleoside to another nucleoside that is linked with the phosphate group, it becomes nucleotides. So, what is nucleoside? Nucleoside is a nucleotide minus phosphate group, as you can see in this figure. Now, they form the nucleosides such as with the adenosine, they will be forming deoxyadenosine. With guanine, they will be forming deoxyguanosine. And with cytosine, they will be forming cytidine or the deoxycytidine, and similarly deoxythymidine and uridine. When a phosphate group is linked at the 5-OH of the nucleoside through phosphodiester linkage, a corresponding nucleotide is formed depending upon the type of the sugar present in it. Two nucleotides are linked through each other by 3-5- a special type of the bond called as phosphodiester linkage, and thus forms the dinucleotide. Now, I must explain to you what is this 3- and 5- end. Now, you can see in this figure that nucleotides can be joined in such a manner to form a polynucleotide chain that at one end a free phosphate moiety at 5- end of the sugar, which is formed to refer to as 5- end of polynucleotide chain. Similarly, at the other end of the polymer, the ribose has a free 3-OH group, which is referred to as 3- end of the polynucleotide chain. As I will make it more clearer, that two sugars are connected by the phosphate group, and in the one sugar it is connected with the third carbon atom, whereas in another sugar it is connected with the fifth carbon atom, thus forming a 5-3- linkage. That is, on one end of the DNA chain, one is the 3- end and the other end is the 5- end. Since the two strands are complementary, one strand, if it is 5-3- end, the corresponding will be 5-3- end. Now here you can see a circular DNA. This is the genetic material of the prokaryotes, in which the chemical composition is same of the DNA, that is pentose sugar, that is deoxyribose sugar, nitrogenous base, and a phosphate group. But the orientation is different. As you can see, most of the prokaryotes such as bacteria, etc., and the lower organisms which are not having the proper nuclei, that's why they are called as the prokaryotes, meaning primitive nucleus. They have a single circular DNA, and without distinguishing the front end and the last end, because it is circular, hence there are no end. On the other hand, the eukaryotes, all the higher organisms, they contain linear DNA, and linear means they are the straight DNA with the terminal end, with the first end and the second end. Now you can study here the differences between the DNA and the RNA. In this figure, it is explained that in RNA, every nucleotide residue has an additional OH group present at the second position in the ribose. Also in RNA, the uracil is found at the place of thymine. 5-methyl uracil, another chemical name for thymine. That is another name, just in place of, as in you can see in the DNA, the purines are adenine, guanine, same are the purines in RNA, whereas pyrimidines are different. Cytosine is common, whereas in DNA thymine is present, and in RNA uracil is present. This was very well explained by a famous scientist, Erwin Chargaff, how the place pyrimidines and purines are distributed. DNA as an acidic substance present in the nucleus was first identified by Friedrich Mesker in 1869. However, he called it as nuclein at that time, but due to technical limitations in isolating such a long polymer, and the elucidation of the DNA remained elusive for a long time. But later on it became very clear, and now we know that the RNA, it consists of nitrogenous bases A, C, G and U, and DNA consists of A, C, G, T. Similarly, RNA has a ribose sugar, pentose sugar, and DNA has a deoxyribose sugar. Both are connected with the 5-3- ends. Now, if we consider the Chargaff's role, what it has to explain it to us to make the things more clearer, Erwin Chargaff, he said that for a double-stranded DNA, the ratio between adenine and thymine and guanine and cytosine are constant and equal one. Adenine always pairs with the thymine with a double bond, whereas guanine always pairs with the cytosine with a triple bond. Amount of DNA, you can see here the triple bond between G and C and a double bond between A and T. Their amounts in the given DNA molecule will be the same. The bases, the A pairs with T and G pairs with C, and they form the bond between AT and GC, that is a very weak hydrogen bond. The base pairing confers a very unique property to the polynucleotide chain. They are said to be complementary to each other, and therefore, if the sequence of the base in one strand is known, then the sequence in the other strand can very easily be predicted. And if each strand forms a DNA, let us call it as a parental strand. One strand is called as the parental strand, which acts as a template for the synthesis of the new strand. We shall be discussing the synthesis of new strand in semi-conservative mode of DNA replication in the subsequent lectures. Then the two double-stranded DNA, let us call them as the daughter strand DNA, thus produced would be identical to the parental DNA molecule. Because of this, the genetic implication of the DNA became very clear, and two scientists, James Watson and Francis Crick, they gave the model of on the X-ray diffraction and the modern techniques and the previous knowledge. They that was summarized the structure of the DNA, and it is like this. As you can see in the figure, the Watson and Crick's model is very explained in a very elusive way and explanatory way, and in 1953 this model was given, for which the two scientists were awarded the Nobel Prize. Let us discuss the salient features of double helix structure of the DNA. It is made up of two polynucleotide chains, as you can see in the figure, where the backbone is constituted by sugar phosphate and the bases projects inside. Now you can see the two chains have anti-parallel polarity. What is anti-parallel means? It means if one chain has a polarity of 5' 3' end, the other has 3' 5' end. Again, the bases in the two strands are paired through hydrogen bond, forming base pairs. Adenine forms two hydrogen bonds with thymine from opposite strand and vice versa. Similarly, guanine is bonded with cytosine with the 3 hydrogen bond. As a result, always a purine comes opposite to pyrimidine, thus generates approximately uniform distance between the two strands. Now, if the distance between the two strands, base pairs, is almost same, the two chains are coiled in a right-handed fashion. The pitch of the helix is about 3.4 nanometer. What is this nanometer? Nanometer is the 1 billionth of a meter, that is 10 raised to power minus 9th position of the meter, and there are roughly about 10 base pairs in each turn. Consequently, the helix between a base pair in a helix is approximately about, because there are 10 base pairs and the one turn is about 34 nanometer, therefore approximately the distance between the two base pairs is 0.34 nanometer. Again, we must say that the plane of one base pair stacks over the other in double helix. Thus, in addition to hydrogen bond, it confers stability of the helical structure also. Now, on the basis of this very clear-cut structure, which is now well proved, a lot of information was gathered which laid a foundation for the further discoveries, and it was because of this that Francis Crick proposed the central dogma of molecular biology. So, that is DNA forms RNA and RNA forms proteins. We shall be discussing in the next lecture like this. So for today, that's all. So I would suggest, my dear students, that you go through your books also, and in case you have any query, you can leave a question at my mail address or given at the end of this video. So that's all. Stay safe.